Greetings, humans of the internet, and welcome once again to Bowtie Talks. I, of course, am your excellent host, Luke Johnson, coming to you as usual from my undisclosed location in Midwest USA with some more historical insights. And of course, we are now in the new year of 2026, and I must say 2025 was a good year for me, and I hope it was for all of you listening. And since 2 days ago was New Year's Eve, I thought it would be a good time to discuss many of the New Year's traditions, because there are quite a few, to be honest, more than I expected at least. Some people pop champagne, others eat black eyed peas. And of course, there is the ball drop at Times Square. So join me, won't you, as I discuss the origins of some American New Year's Eve customs and their origins. The ancient Babylonians to thank for New Year's resolutions. The ancient Babylonians made promises in order to earn favor of the gods and start their new year on the right foot. Debts and return borrowed farm equipment. So, in some cases, not much has changed. And we have good marketing to thank for champagne toasts on New Year's Eve. Now, the practice of New Year's resolutions may be ancient. The practice of toasting the new year with champagne only goes back to the 19th century. Prior to the 19th century, champagne was reserved for aristocrats and elites. And champagne started to go mainstream around the 19th century. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, new bottling techniques made wine more affordable than ever before, and many consumers lacked the funds to drink it regularly, so sellers began marketing champagne as a special treat for big events. Newspaper advertisements, particularly near holidays such as Christmas and New Year's, associated family gatherings with champagne, as was written by historian Colleen M. Guy in her book, When Champagne Became French, Wine and the Making of a National Identity. One observer noted in 1881 that the increased use of champagne at festive gatherings was, quote, a charming fashion that is beginning to become more common. And while champagne may be the drink most associated with New Year's Eve, the food most associated with New Year's Eve, at least in the South and in some parts of the Midwest, is black-eyed peas, especially in a southern dish known as hoppin' john, which is a mix of black-eyed peas, rice, and bacon, which originated with enslaved Africans in the United States, especially in the South Carolina Low Country. Now, the dish was linked to New Year's celebrations because enslaved Africans prepared and ate it during a period when they had some rare time off from harvesting and planting. However, and the dish may have then developed into a good luck meal. The first known time Hoppin' John was mentioned by name in print in 1838 in the novel Recollections of a Southern Matron. It is often served with collard greens and cornbread, and some food historians attribute the dish's unusual name to a French word for dried peas, pronounced Paul Pigeon, which may have sounded like hopping John to some English speakers. Many people correlate the black-eyed peas shape to coins, while the green of the collard greens signifies money and cornbread stands for gold. And no New Year's celebration would be complete without the singing of Auld Lang Syne. The song originated as a poem by famed Scottish poet Robert Burns, and was adapted to the tune of a traditional folk song in the 18th century. After writing the verse, Robert Burns publicized the song, which in English translates to For Old Times. He sent a copy to the Scots Musical Museum with the following description. The following song, an old song of olden times, and which has never been in print nor even in manuscript until I took down from an old man. And although it's not exactly clear who the old man to whom Burns was referring, it's believed that some passage of the song were derived from Auld Lang Syne, a ballad printed in 1711 by James Watson. This is due to the strong similarities in the first verse and the chorus of Burns' poem. The song grew in popularity, and after a few years, the Scots began to sing the song each New Year's Eve as friends and family joined hands to form a circle around the dance floor. When they approached the final verse, people would place their arms across their chest and lock hands with those standing next to them. And at the end of the song, the group would move toward the center and back out again. And the tradition soon spread to the rest of the British Isles, and eventually many countries all over the world began ringing in the new year by singing Auld Lang Syne or translated versions. And of course, when Scots and many people of the British Isles made their way to the New World, it soon caught on in America. The song is also played during traditional occasions such as Scottish weddings, and at the close of Great Britain's annual Congress of Trades Union Congress. Man, that's redundant. Congress of Trades Union Congress. One tradition I do not like, however, is fireworks displays on New Year's Eve. I know this may come as somewhat of a surprise to some of you, but some people cannot make it till 12 a.m. and actually want to sleep. Fireworks on New Year's Eve do have a very rich history. The origin of marking New Year's Eve with fireworks dates back to China, where impressive and colorful fireworks displays were first manufactured. It's believed that the sound of the fireworks scares off both evil spirits and misfortune. And when the clock strikes 12 a.m. on New Year's Day, many people, couples, and sometimes even complete strangers, engage in kissing. How this trend got started is somewhat of a mystery, although midnight kisses were traditionally thought to bring good luck in England and Germany, and so it seems German immigrants may have popularized the idea of kissing at 12 o'clock on the dot. In 1863, the New York Times reported that New Year's Eve is a great time among Germans as the last stroke of midnight dies into silence. All big and little, young and old, male and female push into each other's arms and hearty kisses go round. Romantic way to start the new year. And of course, there is the annual celebration in Times Square to ring in the new year. And of course, the Times Square celebration would not be complete without the annual ball drop. However, this practice is modeled on a much older practice. Sometimes called time balls, the concept was originally a practical one. A ball descended from a pole or a pulley system to alert a passerby as to the time of day. One of the first time balls was installed in 1833 at the Royal Greenwich Observatory outside London, England, and it dropped daily at 1 p.m. so that the captains of the ships passing on the River Thames could verify the time on their clocks. And since typically only the rich owned personal clocks and watches, the rest of the population relied on sundials. Time balls provided a solution to standardizing time, and people had gathered in Times Square for New Year's Eve since 1904, when hundreds of thousands of people chose to celebrate Midtown Manhattan near the brand new New York Times building, after which the square itself was named. A little tidbit there. And at midnight, fireworks were set off that made the building look as if it were literally on fire. The next day, Times reported, from base to dome, the giant structure was alight. Never was a New Year's Eve party more joyously celebrated. The same article described Times Square as packed by 9 p.m., and by midnight, quote, the crush was so great that progress was well nigh impossible in any direction. Unquote. And while the fireworks made for a great show onto the New York City streets, worried city officials so much that fire ran in 1907. However, the Times introduced a new gimmick to bring partiers to Times Square, and that was the New Year's Eve ball. The first New Year's Eve ball was made of iron and wood and was adorned with 125-watt light bulbs. It was 5 feet in diameter and weighed 700 pounds. And it was built by a young immigrant metal worker named Jacob Starr. And for most of the 20th century, the company he founded, sign maker Artcraft Strauss, was responsible for lowering the ball. And as part of the 1907 and 1908 festivities, waiters in the fabled lobster palaces and other deluxe restaurants and hotels surrounding Times Square were supplied with battery-operated top hats with the numbers 1908 fashioned of tiny light bulbs, and at the stroke of midnight they all flipped their lids, so to speak, and the year on their foreheads lit up in conjunction with the numbers 1908 on the parapet of the Time Tower, lighting up to signal the arrival of the new year. And the ball has been lowered every year since 1907, with the exceptions of 1942 and 1943, when the ceremony was suspended because of wartime dim out of lights in New York City. However, during those years, the crowd still gathered in Times Square with a minute of silence, followed by the ringing of chimes from sound trucks parked at the base of the tower, harkening back to the earlier celebrations at Trinity Church, where crowds would gather to ring out the old and ring in the new. And in 1920, a 400-pound ball made entirely of wrought iron replaced the original. In 1955, the iron ball was replaced with an aluminum ball weighing 150 pounds. The aluminum ball remained unchanged until the 1980s, when red light bulbs and the addition of a green stem converted the ball into an apple for the I Love New York marketing campaign, which lasted from 1981 to 1988. And after 7 years, the traditional glowing white ball with white light bulbs and without the green stem returned to light the sky above Times Square. And in 1995, the ball was upgraded with aluminum skin, rhinestones, strobe lights, and computer controls, but the aluminum ball was lowered for the last time in 1998. And for 2000, the Millennium Celebration at the crossroads of the world, the New Year's Eve ball was completely redesigned. The new crystal ball contained the latest in lighting technology with the most traditional of materials, reminding us of our past as we gazed into the future and the beginning of a new millennium. And for 2007, for the 100th anniversary of the Times Square ball drop tradition, the traditional incandescent bulbs were replaced by modern LED lighting technology that dramatically increased the brightness and color capabilities of the ball. The beauty and energy efficiency of the Centennial Ball inspired the building owners of One Times Square to build the permanent big ball weighing nearly 6 tons and 12 feet in diameter, with 2,688 crystal triangles illuminated by 32,256 LEDs. This big Times Square's New Year's Eve ball is now a year-round attraction sparkling from above Times Square in full public view, January through December. And sad to say, folks, our time to an end now. Before we leave, I would like to thank TimesSquareBall.net, .co.com, MentalFloss.com, FriendshipVillageGym.com, EncyclopediaBotanical.com, and History.com for the information used to make this episode. Before we leave, goodbye, God bless, and I hope all will come to you in the new year.